Piers, I got to tell you, that was one of the most absurd interviews I've ever had to watch in my life.
I'm joined by Tim Miller, the host of the Bulwark podcast.
That little exchange you had about, it's so surprising they've never met. Do you know why Trump and Kamala Harris have never met, Piers? Have you thought about it for a second? Do you know why they really haven't met?
Tell me.
Because he was a toddler and he threw a temper tantrum after he lost a fair election. And for the first time in America since the Civil War, we did not have a peaceful transfer of power. We did not have a ceremonial transfer of power where the former president, like a man, goes and stands on the stage and greets the next incoming president, where he helps the incoming team with the transition, where the vice president's team meets with the other. That didn't happen last time because Donald Trump attempted a coup and he had a temper tantrum and he flew home to Mar-a-Lago just to go golfing,
all of which,
and to hang out with the Cougars on the pool
deck. To be clear, all of which
that's what happened. That's why they haven't met, because he tried a coup.
Well, to be clear, at the time I heavily criticised him for all the things you've just said, but that doesn't explain why.
Okay, sure, but Corey Lewandowski comes on your show and he's like, "Oh, Donald Trump and Kamala haven't met."
Well, hang on.
Oh my goodness, wow, that's so interesting. They haven't met, and then Corey's over there saying it's because Kamala was ineffective as a senator. No, it's because Donald Trump was supposed to be a deal maker, didn't meet with any of the Democratic senators. He said he was going to be the art of the deal man, but he didn't try to actually do any deals. All he did was insult people on Twitter. And then after he lost to Kamala Harris, fair and square, and Joe Biden, he didn't have the dignity to have a transfer of power for the first time in American history.
I've just said I agree.
Shameful.
I've just said
embarrassing. He's an embarrassment.
I've just said I agree with you. So let's park that to one side.
Well, but you didn't say it to Corey. You didn't challenge Corey. It was a very chummy interview. I know you want to get Trump on the show, but it was very chummy.
Okay.
And you didn't challenge Corey that much.
Ask can be chummy too. Why didn't you make yourself invited?
Donald Trump ran.
Isn't that the job of senators?
Come on. Donald Trump ran on this BS nonsense and come on this show. I'm the art of the deal man. I'm a deal maker, which was a book he didn't even write that got ghostwritten. It was this fake persona. It was this Hollywood persona that he conned the American people into believing that he was some deal maker. Then he gets in the White House and he doesn't even try to work with the Democrats on a deal. All he does is insult them. He does nicknames. He trashes them. He didn't cut any deals. Donald Trump, Joe Biden ended up being the deal maker that got a bipartisan deal on gay marriage, on infrastructure. So that's why Kamala didn't go to the White House. He didn't ever invite her. How about that?
Well, yeah,
Did you try that?
I'm curious about your own journey. You were Jeb Bush's guy, Republican, and now you're a Democrat. How does that happen?
Well, I'm not a Democrat. I left the party in 2020. Very good timing, I thought. In about November of 2020, after the election, I was hopeful. Throughout 2020, I was hopeful that we could get our party back from Donald Trump and get back to a more classical, liberal, traditional party that had a respect for the rule of law, that had a respect for our allies abroad, international relationships, that had a respect for immigration and the immigrant story and how that's an important part of America. I was hoping we could get back to that kind of compassionate conservatism after 2020. And then what happened was Donald Trump lost and he threw an extended temper tantrum. And rather than standing up to him, rather than telling him, "Sir, Mr. President, it's time for you to accept your loss and move on," all of the Republicans basically went along with it. And everybody participated in this absurd lie, in this absurd fantasy where every Republican was like, "Yeah, we're worried about the voting machines." And I was so disheartened and discouraged by that I wrote an article saying I was leaving the party. It ended up being totally correct. Over the next 5 years, that now everyone who spoke out against Trump, like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, has been thrust out of the party, and people who are like embarrassing clowns are made to be the nominee of our party, and like Mark Robinson in North Carolina or Kari Lake in Arizona, simply because they're willing to suck up to Donald Trump. It's not a traditional conservative or a classically liberal party anymore. It's an embarrassment. It's a cult of one man, I'm very happy to leave it. And I think everything that's happened over the last 5 years has validated all of my criticisms of the party.